Now, one of the ways that we can be different from others is the way we process information, known as our representational systems, or REP systems for short. Now, if you remember, the brain has filters to process information so we don't get overwhelmed, and one of the filters is known as our REP systems, or otherwise known as VAKOG, V-A-K-O-G, which stands for visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Now, these are our human sensory systems, so you may ask, well, how do these make us different? It's because each one of us has one that we prefer to use to process information. So I'm going to go through the VAK ones, the VAK, as these are the ones that cause issues in our relationship, especially when we're different. The other two are olfactory, in other words, smell, and gustatory, which is taste. So the first one is visual. So if your REP system is visual, you've taken your map of the world visually. This means you learn best by looking at something, looking at pictures, for example, having to draw things out in order to learn them. You may be quick at processing. Usually visual learners will take in information quickly. They take it in so quickly they're seen as being the bright spark of the group, only later to realise they misunderstood a lot of it because they didn't listen properly. And because they take things in so fast, they may get frustrated when others are slower than them, and also they may get overwhelmed as well. Visual learners have trouble remembering verbal instructions as their mind tends to wander. Now, if this is you, you will like to look good, you'll probably wear matching things, contrasting clothes, you'll have an eye for detail, your home will probably be tidy, everything in its place and lots of colour. You'll buy things based on how they look, and your home may even have a good view. You don't like something that's obstructing your view either, like a dirty windscreen when you're driving, or if you're on a course, you'd like to sit somewhere where you can see the trainer, where you can see the presentation. You'll find it really frustrating when somebody's sat right in front of you and you can no longer see. And you may sit forward on your chair, to get a good look. When talking, you may stand further back so you can look and take everything in. And you see things easily. You will notice that mark on the carpet or when something needs cleaning. Or when somebody says, my partner often says, oh, where's the cheese? And then you go straight to the fridge and there it is, right in front of them. You're like, how did you not see that? And you'll use sentences and words that have visual language, such as, oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Or, oh, I'll have a look. Or, yeah, I can really see your point of view. So that's the visual. Now, the auditory, and there is also an auditory digital, which I'll cover in a moment. But with the auditory, I'm actually referring here to someone whose map of the world is how they hear, or what they hear, I should say. Now, they learn best by hearing something. So watching and listening to the video is good for them, or hearing an audio. They might like auditory books, for example. So if on a course, they'll also like to be close to the front so they can hear every word, and they'll find it easy to remember all of the instructions they're given. So if this is your REP system, you'll most likely love music. You'll enjoy words. You'll enjoy reading, and you may enjoy poetry. You'll have a great memory for words as well. People with an auditory REP system will remember every line of a song. So be warned, because they'll also remember everything you said as well, word for word. They may be good at singing since they have a great listening ear. They may be able to play an instrument, belong to an orchestra or a band. They're also good speakers or writers. So if this is you, you'll be less bothered about what you look like. However, you'll likely have the best or latest auditory equipment, such as the best headphones, speakers, a great sound system. Your home will probably have the ability to play music in every room. Yes, even the bathroom. And you'll probably have double or triple glazing to shut out any noise disturbances. Now, a person with an auditory REP system will either struggle if there's a lot of background noise, perhaps liking a lot of peace and quiet because they're easily distracted by noise, or they may be the opposite. They may always want something playing in the background like music. They enjoy different They enjoy hearing different tones of voice. They'll learn best when someone has an interesting voice. A monotone voice that's very quiet will make them switch off. You'll often hear them talking to themselves or humming a happy tune, whistling or singing a song. They'll use auditory sentences such as, I hear what you're saying, or I like the sound of that, or let me talk you through it. Now, auditory digital is a little less common. However, these are the people who tend to live in their heads. They're quite disconnected from their feelings, actually, and from their bodies. This could also be a learned behaviour. Someone who's really shut down their feelings, who is really kinesthetic, could become audio digital. They are analytic and they tend to analyse everything that's said. They like to read, enjoy research, they enjoy data and facts and figures. They're very logical and they find it easy to process information and can make sense of complicated information, quite easily. They're logical and rational. They need to know something makes sense rather than trust their intuition or gut feeling. And these are deep thinkers. They can have sometimes a robot-like tonality to their voice, and they're often very intellectual, very knowledgeable. Not always great communicators due to their somewhat monotone voice. And sometimes they use very little or no emotion. So they can alienate people with a lot of long words as well. They can be highly disciplined and tend to focus on rules. And they tend to shy away from attention. They don't like to get too close to people. But they will use words like, I cannot compute this, or I wonder if you can make sense of this, or let me process that and I'll come back to you. And then we've got the kinesthetics. These are the touchy feelers, and they take in the world, the map of the world, through feeling. This means if you're a kinesthetic, this means you'll learn best by doing. You have to experience it. You have to feel it and to fully understand it, which means you process slower because you have to feel it and understand it in your body. But when you learn it, you learn it. Unlike the visuals who take it in quickly and misunderstand, you take your time to really feel into it. And it's got to feel right in your body. It's got to make sense to your gut. So remember, you're learning at great depth, so you will remember it and you will gain a greater understanding as you'll really process things at a deep level. If this is you, you won't be too bothered about what you look like. As long as you're comfortable, you'll choose clothes and furniture for their comfort, and your home will look lived in, with comfy sofas and a soft carpet and warm lighting. And of course, as long as you're comfortable, you don't mind where you sit. You find it hard to watch and listen for long periods of time, as you have to be experiencing it for yourself. So lots of practical exercises where you can get stuck in, where you can get your hands dirty, works for the kinesthetics. You'll be less likely to bother about personal space. In fact, you love touch and hugs, especially anything that makes you feel connected. And you'll use sentences like, not sure I grasp that, or let me get a handle on it, or I have lots of hands-on experience. I like to get my hands dirty. So now you know all the different rep systems. Which one are you? Now, if you're not sure, there's a quiz in the work guide for you to do. Now, you may find that you're a mixture of them, but we all have one that is our lead rep system. In fact, if you are a mixture of them, then you'll be able to be more flexible and understanding with others. So if there's one or more that you score a low point on, take note, because this is where you may have more challenges with other people and in your relationships with them. So in my case, I am visual first, and I'm closely followed by auditory and kinesthetic. But audio digital is quite low down, and my dad was audio digital. So that's an interesting one about how I connected with my dad. So now let's see how these can impact our relationships, especially when we're different from our partner. Now, if you're a visual person and you're not with another visual person, then you may get frustrated when the house is not clean and tidy. You just won't understand why your partner doesn't see that something needs doing or something needs cleaning. Perhaps you're moaning that your partner doesn't do enough around the house, or doesn't do it to a standard that you think is acceptable, because you see everything. It's really important to a visual person to what their person looks like, what their partner looks like, rather. They may be put off if the partner's looking scruffy, or they haven't shaved for a few days, or they've not made an effort on a date to look good. They may get frustrated that their partner doesn't process information quickly enough. So they may get impatient, interrupting them or finishing their sentences. And of course, this is really annoying for their partner, who wants some time and quite a bit of time to think about their answer. So visual people are usually fast talkers as well, due to the fact that they process information quickly. They may throw a lot of information at their partner in one go. So I'm visual and my partner's kinesthetic. So sometimes I go, and he says, hey, hang on, slow down, slow down. And I get really tempted to ask him a question and then interrupt his answer, because he takes a long time to think about it and really feel the answer. So now I've had to learn to just allow him to take that time before he answers. And usually he gives me a really great answer back, because he really, really processes it. Does that make sense? So it's really important as a visual to learn that and to slow down and to really take the time to wait for somebody to come back to you, and to understand that people don't always learn as quickly as you, to understand that you easily misunderstand information because you don't necessarily listen as well as an auditory person, for example, or process as deeply as a kinesthetic person. You may also get frustrated with somebody because they can't find something. So they ask you where it is, and then you see it straight away, right? So you can imagine, can't you, how these can impact a relationship. But what about an auditory partner? So an auditory partner will love to have lots of noise in the home. They'll probably have the radio going, the TV on pretty much most of the time. And they'll enjoy dates that involve noise, such as music events, going to plays, theatre, shows, discos, concerts. And they'll get frustrated with their partner if they're not the same and they crave peace and quiet. They'll remember everything you say. So if you tell them something different from what they remember, this will annoy them, because to them, words are really important. So be careful what you say to an auditory person, especially in an argument, because they will remember it and they will remind you of it word for word. Now, they're less bothered about what someone looks like. They could even be in a messy home. They're not really focused on that at all. They're focused on spending money on the best sound system. They will find fast talkers frustrating because they want to hear every word. And they'll find audio digital people boring because their voice just lacks emotion and it's just monotone. Does that make sense? So what about audio digital? Now, as I've said, these people will usually have a monotone voice. So voice tone doesn't really interest them enough. And they want to be able to have somebody who can handle their need for research, who analyzes everything, who's really logical and rational, who will follow the rules. So if you're not somebody who, if you're somebody who's really spontaneous, then you're probably going to find it difficult to be with somebody who likes to do a lot of research before they decide to do something. Does that make sense? They're very intellectual and they're interested in things that stimulate the mind. They get quite disengaged with their body. So how do you think they'd get on with a highly kinesthetic person who wants plenty of touch? And they probably have lots of leaflets and books everywhere. So a visual might struggle with them as well, right? Because they want a tidy home. What about kinesthetics? Now, they don't really care what the home looks like as long as it's warm and comfortable. And if they're in a relationship with a visual person, this could be the main cause of conflict between them. A visual person could get really frustrated because it's just not tidy enough. Kinesthetic people are the ones that are the slowest to process information due to the fact that they really need to feel it and understand it at a deep level. So as I said before, this can be really frustrating for a visual person as they're the fastest processors. They'll throw a lot of information at them at once and expect a quick answer. Do you recognise yourself in any of this? I'm laughing because obviously being visual, Graham's kinesthetic, we do obviously have to really meet in the middle here. Kinesthetic people, I love this about Graham, wants lots of touching, hugging, cuddling, kissing. So if you're with this person, be prepared for that. So this was just to give you an idea of the differences that we can have. And of course, 2 different rep systems can easily live happily ever after. Yeah. I mean, I love the warmth that Graham gives me. There's nothing better than a cuddle with a kinesthetic person. They just ooze this warmth and comfort. And, you know, having an extremely tidy house, it's a small price to pay. Or not having, I should say, not having a tidy house, it's a small price to pay for being in a happy relationship, don't you think? So it's all about compromising. And it just wouldn't be fair to expect your partner to meet your needs and ignore their own. So I hope this has given you some insight into the differences and how it may have been impacting your relationships in the past, and how you can move forward with this new knowledge to make a different choice next time.